Welcome back to Kleppers Corner, Today in History, where we take a single date, shake it like a snow globe full of empires, treaties, industrial mayhem, and inexplicable human choices, and then watch all the little historical flakes settle into something that vaguely resembles a narrative. And today, oh boy, December 1st. A date that should honestly come with its own seatbelt. This isn't one of those, hey, here's one cool event days. No. December 1st is the Costco wholesale version of history. Bulk sovereignty, bulk innovation, and enough political chaos to feed a small academic department. Let's get into it. Segment 1, crowns, coups, and the medieval meltdown. December 1st begins its long resume with a power move straight out of a prestige political drama. The year is 800. Charlemagne rolls into Rome like a man who just opened his Google Calendar and saw "Fix the papacy" penciled in between "invade Saxony again" and "brutally henpeck Louis the Pious." Pope Leo III has been attacked, nearly mutilated, exiled, and dragged back like a medieval version of someone who gets fired on Tuesday and mysteriously shows up at work again on Thursday because HR forgot to process the paperwork. So Charlemagne presides over a council on December 1st. A council that, hilariously, is not allowed to judge the Pope. Imagine showing up for jury duty and the judge tells you, by the way, you cannot deliberate, you cannot vote, but feel free to sit there and look holy. The council instead politely steps aside. Leo swears an oath of innocence later in the month, and this whole December 1st theater production becomes the preamble to Christmas Day, when Leo crowned Charlemagne emperor, creating the Holy Roman Empire and fracturing Europe like a dropped baguette. But wait, December 1st wasn't done robbing monarchs of peace. Fast forward to 1135. King Henry I of England drops dead, and England falls into a period historians politely call the Anarchy, and impolite historians call England becomes a failed state because one guy ate too many lampreys. Stephen steals the throne. Matilda says, "Excuse me?" And England spends almost 2 decades as the opening act for Mad Max. Jump ahead again, this time to 1420. Henry V, yes, Mr. Agincourt himself, enters Paris on December 1st. In a moment that feels like England unlocked the temporary European superpower achievement. The Treaty of Troyes made him heir to the French throne, and on this day, he strolls into Paris like he's claiming a new parking space. If not for his premature death, the whole world might be speaking Franglish right now. And then 1640 hits. The Portuguese Restoration War kicks off because Spain had been treating Portugal like the world's worst roommate. So, on December 1st, a group of nobles storms the palace, throws an official out a window, diplomacy, and installs a whole new dynasty. December 1st is basically Europe's "Are you sure you want to keep your empire? Click yes or no" date. By 1822, Brazil gets in on the action too. Pedro I crowns himself emperor on December 1st, deciding independence was nice, but independence and a sparkly crown was better. And in 1824, America holds the "no one wins the Electoral College" giveaway. Nobody gets enough votes. Everything goes to the House, and Jackson fans start muttering "corrupt bargain" like it was the original political conspiracy podcast. December 1st, the date that proves monarchy, democracy, and everything in between can absolutely fall apart before lunch. Segment 2, Lincoln, Emancipation, and a Country on Fire. December 1st, 1862. Abraham Lincoln sends Congress a message that basically says, hey, remember how we're fighting a war? We should maybe make that war also about something morally defensible, like ending slavery. Lincoln points out that history is watching, which is the 19th century version of tweeting, "Just so everyone knows, I'm making a big decision right now." This message reaffirms the Emancipation Proclamation, reframes the war as a moral crusade, and delivers one of Lincoln's best lines: "We cannot escape history." This is the moment where America goes from preserve the Union to recreate the Union into something that doesn't run on human bondage. December 1st is the hinge on which the entire Civil War narrative swings, and Lincoln, being Lincoln, doesn't with the rhetorical flourish of a man born to give speeches in future Ken Burns documentaries. Segment 3. Ford, film, and the age of industrial whiplash. The early 20th century looks at December 1st and says, okay, your turn to disrupt literally everything. December 1st, 1903, the Great Train Robbery premieres. And suddenly, movies have plots. Before this, film was mostly people walking, trains arriving, or the occasional horse doing something adorable. Porter's film gives us cross-cutting action sequences, and the famous guy shoots directly at the camera because the future audience's pacemakers aren't invented yet. 10 years later, December 1st, 1913, Henry Ford creates the assembly line for entire car chassis. This isn't just innovation, it's industrial chaos. Suddenly, instead of workers building a car, the car rolls past workers. Like a conveyor belt sushi restaurant, but with fewer spicy tuna rolls and more existential despair. Productivity skyrockets, prices plummet. America builds suburbs, highways, diners, and eventually road rage. And because December 1st works in pairs, the Buenos Aires subte opens the same day, the first subway in Latin America. So, on one date in 1913, the world invents mass production and mass transportation. December 1st is out here speed-running modernity. Segment 4. War, borders, revolutions, and the unexpected peace. December 1st, 1918. The world is stitching itself back together with the enthusiasm of a college student sewing patches onto their backpack. Earnest, ambitious, totally certain none of this will unravel later. Iceland becomes sovereign. Romania unifies. Yugoslavia forms. Basically, a whole portion of Europe opens a world historical IKEA kit labeled Self-Assembly Nation State. Then, 1925 hands us the Locarno Treaties, Europe's I swear we're done fighting, let's be friends moment. The problem? They guarantee Germany's borders with France and Belgium, but completely forget about Eastern Europe like it's the middle child of geopolitics. This later gives Hitler the, well, technically, loophole he absolutely did not need. Then things get dark. December 1st, 1934. Kirov is assassinated, and Stalin uses the moment to launch the Great Purge. Imagine if one guy gets murdered and your boss responds by saying, okay, I'm going to eliminate almost everyone you've ever met. That's the level of paranoia we're dealing with. Then, 1941. Japan decides war with everyone is a great holiday plan. Hirohito approves the attack on the U.S., and America simultaneously creates the Civil Air Patrol, which is like the Air Force's neighborhood watch. December 1st is the date where peace treaties, assassinations, and war councils all show up to the same party. Segment 5. Civil rights, Cold War science, and the draft that terrified America. December 1st in the mid-20th century? Absolutely stacked. 1955. Rosa Parks refuses to give up her seat, and the Montgomery bus boycott begins. The narrative loves to say she was just tired, but she was an activist who knew exactly what she was doing. December 1st becomes the ignition point for the modern civil rights movement. One arrest leads to a 381-day boycott, a Supreme Court ruling, and the emergence of Dr. King as a national figure. It is the ultimate case study in how a single moment of defiance flips the entire moral compass of a nation. 1959. 12 countries say, let's take a whole continent and agree not to ruin it. The Antarctic Treaty demilitarizes Antarctica and basically creates a scientific utopia of penguins, ice cores, and passive-aggressive international cooperation. Imagine the Cold War, but everyone behaves themselves because frostbite is a powerful motivator. 1969, the first Vietnam draft lottery. America watches as birth dates get pulled from a bowl like the world's bleakest Powerball drawing. If your birthday came up early, congratulations, you win a free trip to Southeast Asia. Suddenly, college dorms are full of guys saying, maybe astrology isn't nonsense. Maybe my birth date actually does determine my fate. December 1st, ladies and gentlemen, where civil rights rise, international law chills out, and America throws every 19-year-old into a panic attack. Segment 6. Thriller, AIDS, and the changing cultural conversation. December 1st also marks the beginning of a new kind of cultural consciousness. 1983, Michael Jackson releases Thriller. And suddenly, the music video becomes an art form instead of, here's the band standing in a warehouse again. Thriller debuts, and the world collectively says, oh, this can be cinema. It's got choreography, makeup, werewolves, zombies. It's basically a Halloween party with a Grammy budget. 1988, the first World AIDS Day. Finally, a moment where the global community stops ignoring the epidemic and starts talking about it. December 1st becomes the day when we shift from stigma to solidarity, from silence to activism. It is one of the rare moments where international organizations synchronize their moral compass. Segment 7, tunnels, treaties, and the fall of a superpower. December 1st doesn't slow down in the modern era. 1990, the Channel Tunnel breakthrough. British and French engineers literally meet in the middle, shake hands, and accidentally invent the world's most wholesome international selfie moment. Britain is physically reattached to Europe for the first time since the Ice Age, though certain 21st century events suggest this arrangement was more trial subscription than lifetime membership. 1991, Ukraine holds its independence referendum. 92.3% vote yes, and the Soviet Union collapses like a Jenga tower built on wishful thinking. December 1st is the day one republic pulls the keystone from the entire Soviet structure. 2009, the Treaty of Lisbon comes into force. The EU gets a president, a single legal personality, and enough bureaucratic upgrades to make it feel like it just installed political Windows Vista. December 1st keeps ending empires, connecting continents, and rewriting the rules of what nations even are. In conclusion, December 1st is not just a date. It's a historical demolition derby. Monarchies collapse, empires begin, superpowers dissolve, civil rights ignite, industries transform, and humanity occasionally decides not to blow up Antarctica. It's a day where individuals, from Rosa Parks to the Portuguese conspirators, change the world with one decision. And it's a day where systems, from the Soviet Union to the automotive assembly line, are born, evolve, or collapse. December 1st is where old orders end, new worlds begin, and history taps you on the shoulder to say, buckle up, today matters.